Courage is hard to come by these days. That's the way it goes when you get to late stage Republic era, and it's hard, very, very hard, to find somebody within a corrupted system willing to stand up to the corrupted system. That's real bravery. Steve Friend, very, very proud to know this guy. This guy's dedicated his life to serving this nation and was in the FBI and looked around in horror at what was happening within the walls of the FBI, and it's an honor to welcome him in the show now. He has a book out now called True Blue. He's also a senior fellow at the Center for Renewing America. I love that you landed on your feet, Steve. Appreciate you, brother.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Now, why'd you leave the FBI?
Well, it wasn't by choice of my own. They took my gun and badge and escorted me out of the building after a process where I came forward with my concerns about what was going on with the January 6th investigations.
Now, what was going on with the January 6th investigations that would prompt those concerns?
Well, my background with the FBI kind of is relevant to this because I came in 2014 and worked in a very remote location in the Midwest, worked on Indian reservations. And during that time, had the opportunity to open up about 200 cases, arrested about 150 violent criminals. So I got really familiar with the FBI's rule book for carrying forward investigations. So when my family relocated to Florida in 2021, with the understanding I was going to be working child pornography investigations, and I was unceremoniously transferred over to work on January 6 cases, that was the first opportunity I had to look at those cases, and became aware that the FBI is departing very greatly from its rules for the way that it's supposed to manage cases and index cases, and then also is employing some very aggressive tactics when it comes to apprehending some otherwise cooperative subjects.
Okay, so you were pulled from child pornography cases to go after these dangerous January 6ers, and you say the rules have changed. What were the rules? What are the rules now?
Well, in my entire experience, and for every other case that I've seen, when you open up a case, you own it, your office owns it. But when it came to January 6th, the cases, which should rightly be one case, opened up in Washington, D.C., a decision was made to open up a separate case for every single subject, and instead of running them on paper from Washington, disseminating them to the field. So now we've created this illusion that there are thousands of domestic terrorism cases that are spread around to Cleveland and Sacramento and El Paso, when in fact the numbers that are substantiating that are all generated from this one-time 4-hour incident. And the reason for that is simply to juke the stats, to create this false impression that domestic terrorism is on the rise, as we've heard from our elected officials so often over the last few years. And then also, those numbers are tied to compensation for senior executives within the FBI. Meeting those metrics means that they get 5-finger bonuses.
5-finger bonuses at the FBI for busting people on the right. I guess I shouldn't speak out of turn. You were in the FBI. Are these domestic terrorism cases, are they focused at all on the left, or is this 100% going after Republicans?
Well, certainly everything related to January 6th, there's a conservative focus on that, as we've seen, as folks have been brought in and arrested and really had the book thrown at them for misdemeanor crimes in a lot of cases. Now, look, I'm not going to dispute that there are some individuals that conduct themselves in an abhorrent way. They should be tried for the crimes that they committed. And that was really what my concern was. I was not coming at it from a political angle. My concern was that since the FBI is not following its rules, we might wind up losing at trial for a righteous investigation, for a righteous prosecution. And I felt that we, as a matter of due process, should reveal that information to those defendants, because regardless of what you're accused of in this country, when you stand trial, you're entitled to mount a defense, and that includes exculpatory evidence. And the FBI has not made that information public, just like it's not made the surveillance tape from inside the Capitol public.
Steve, can you explain how the FBI got so broken? Is it just a few people at the top? Because I got to be honest, man, I'm thrilled you came forward. I'm thrilled guys like Kyle came forward, but man, there aren't very many of you.
No, there's not. And I think that there's a huge disconnection between the rank and file who are working in the field on cases and sort of keeping their heads down and hoping that their number doesn't get called up. And management class, the folks that are in Washington, D.C., that are making these decisions, those people tend to be very ambitious. They tend to be more politically to the left because that whole process is sort of self-selecting. If you want to promote in the FBI, the idea is you got to come up with something new. And certainly if you're a conservative, you're looking for things to cut. Eliminate that waste. But as you climb those ladder rungs and they get slipperier and slipperier, you have to come up with new things, and you also have to attach yourself to large, important cases. And as we've been told, January 6th is now considered the most important investigation in the history of the Bureau, more important than September 11th, more important than the Civil War. And now the FBI and folks who want to rise through the management ranks are tempted to get their hooks into it and say that we're in some sort of leadership capacity on this very, very important case.
Okay, that really concerns me even more than I already was, because that doesn't sound like we've got some bad actors in management. That sounds like there's a structural problem. And if there's a structural problem, how in the world can we fix that?
I don't think that it's redeemable at this point. I think that the low T GOP, as you're prone to call them, needs to look at funding the FBI in the upcoming budget debates and debt limit ceiling debates. Funding the FBI is funding your enemy. It is no different than our U.S. military leaving behind war materiel, equipment, and weapons for the Taliban in Afghanistan. You do not provide aid and comfort to your political enemy. And in this case, the FBI has now elected to become a weaponized arm of the communist political left in America.
That is sad. Steve, I love you, brother. Go get him. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
That's from the horse's mouth right there.